Free buses, free childcare, rent freezes, a $30 an hour minimum wage. These are some of the promises from socialists running for offices across the country. Let's dig in with Fox News contributor Liz Peek and Democratic Pennsylvania State Senator, a Democratic Socialist, Nikil Saval. Welcome to you both. Thanks for being here for this conversation. Okay, Nikil, I read off the list of policies that socialists in America are promising. You're a Democratic Socialist. Make your case on why you think it can work.
Thanks, Brian, and thank you for having me. It's great to be with you. You know, I want to really start with what I think most Americans are facing and why they're looking forward to bigger solutions to what they're facing. You know, we have a country in which a few wealthy people are doing really, really well, and the vast majority of Americans aren't. And they're dealing with huge issues. They're dealing with an incredibly high cost of housing. We have the largest increase in street homelessness since they've started recording statistics about it. We pay more in healthcare costs than most advanced nations. And we have a federal minimum wage stuck at $7.25 an hour. Corporations aren't paying people enough, and so they're turning to Medicaid and SNAP in order to make ends meet. You know, these are major structural crises, and we need big solutions. And so Democratic Socialists like myself want to meet people's real material needs. We want to make their lives easier so that they can live lives of dignity. So we want them to be able to afford their home. We want them to buy a home or to afford the home they live in. We want them to be able to afford their rent. We want them to be able to afford their health care. We want them to be able to send their kids to a good public school and not have those kids go hungry. These are the big cases and policies that we've been pursuing, and, you know, frankly, they're popular.
Liz, Nikil is making a case about affordability, and I think that's a case that resonates with a lot of people. You probably share his end, but what's wrong with his argument for getting there with socialism?
Well, I think the problem is that the affordability crisis, and I agree it is a crisis, is most acute in Democrat-run cities like New York, like Los Angeles and San Francisco, which basically have employed some of the policies that the Democratic Socialists are most keen on. For example, raising taxes and putting in a lot of environmental restrictions on building. That's why housing is so incredibly expensive. People cannot build. In New York, it takes 2 to 3 times longer than any other place on earth to build an apartment building. In California, it costs 2 or 3 times more. So let's look at the red states where you don't have this cost of living problem. Energy is cheaper, transportation is cheaper, housing is cheaper, and all of these things that have really, I agree, been a problem for so many young people, again, are most prevalent in states that are run by Democrats where taxes are high, regulations are thick, and basically people are paying for all that with lower incomes, less productivity, and a higher cost of living.
Yeah, it's interesting. Neither of you disagree on sort of the end that you're trying to reach, a more affordable life for people. The question is, which path actually gets you there and which path promises the sky but doesn't deliver? I want to move on to this, though. A growing number of Democrats are getting behind these socialist policies. Listen to what Senator Elizabeth Warren had to say.
When someone stands up and says, I will lead this city by making it more affordable, and here are my plans, real plans, plans to deliver on childcare, plans to deliver on housing, plans to deliver, we're going to experiment, we're going to try things on groceries. That is the Democratic message.
Liz Peek, I start with you on this one. Are Democrats digging themselves into a hole by embracing these ideas?
Well, look, I mean, you said earlier, why haven't we learned from the past? Bolivia has just announced that its Democrat Socialist Party has fallen for the first time since 2006. Why? Because there are shortages of goods in the supermarkets, because inflation is 24%. This is not a one-off. Socialism really and truly has not delivered. If you look at countries and cities with the most left-wing policies, the kind of things that Elizabeth Warren loves, tax the rich. What's the message? People won't stand for it, Brian. They leave. They leave
right.
New York and California. They leave countries where taxes are too high and they can't survive. So, I mean, yeah, everybody wants everything to be perfect and cheap and
Right.
affordable and free. It just doesn't happen.
Nikil, quickly to that, how do you defend the track record or lack thereof of socialism when it comes to delivering the very things that you want to see happen?
Housing is a real crisis, and she pointed to it. Housing costs are really high for people all across this country. Here in Pennsylvania, 1 in 3 households is cost burden, meaning they pay over 30% of their income on their household costs. 1 in 2 renters is cost burden. They pay over 30% of their income on their rent. And one of the policies that I got adopted here, I as a Democratic Socialist, working with my colleagues across the aisle in a Republican legislature, was a program called the Whole Home Repairs Program, which is exactly that, a program designed to reduce housing costs. And what it does is it helps provide support for people to make repairs to their home, to repair their roof, to adapt their home if they have changing physical needs, to lower their utility bills with new energy-efficient appliances. It was bipartisan. We got it passed in 2022. It's repaired over 3,000 homes across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You know, the most affordable home that you have is the one you already live in.
Right.
And people are finding that with this program, and they're able to stay in their homes. And not only that, it's immensely popular, and it's being adopted in other states. And I'm proud to say that a version of that program was just passed out of the U.S. Senate Housing Committee on a bipartisan basis. We're just trying to get, to meet people's real material needs and lower their housing costs. And I think we have plans to do that.
And, one thing that I note about that policy is it affirms people's private property to their own home, which I agree with you is a very good thing to do. We've got to leave it there. Liz Peek, Nikil Saval, you're great. Thanks for being here for a wonderful conversation. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.